Hey guys, welcome back to this edition of the Kacee Allen Show. This is episode 39. Today we're going to do our first ever Twitter space on the show, and joining me is special guest from Nigeria, Anson Christian. Anson, thanks for joining us today. How about you introduce yourself?
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I am Anson Christian and I am from Nigeria and I'm also currently living in Nigeria. I'm a motivational speaker. I would say I'm a rising star and inspiring people. That is one thing that gives me joy. Although I'm not a fan of the news, but I would be really, I would really love to share what is currently happening in Nigeria according to my knowledge. Thank you once again for having me here.
Absolutely, sir. It's always good to have on a plethora of people. Like I said, you're the second guest from Africa to come on the show. We previously had someone from Uganda on, and it was a really interesting conversation. So I'm hoping we can cover some really good topics. Obviously, many who are familiar with the news right now, there was the atrocity that happened in Nigeria over Christmas, and that was essentially a massacre of 140 people on Christmas Eve. There was a rampage of 15 villages of nomadic herders that essentially harmed farmers. Now, have you heard anything about this, Anson? And are you actually located to where any of these attacks occurred?
Well, I heard what you said, but honestly, I didn't hear such thing. Maybe it happened, but I didn't hear something like that because maybe because I haven't visited the news for quite a while now. But it has been something that is currently happening, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, where people we call Boko Haram. We have terrorists. They have been terrorizing people there for quite a long time now, and it's not a new thing. It's not a new thing. It's something that has always been there. Although I didn't get the news of what happened earlier this month, but I know such
Yeah, yeah.
such
So
things
that's a
are likely to happen.
yeah. No, you're exactly right. So it's this is a very breaking story. Like I said, this hasn't happened for very long, and it'll very well get its way around to the mainstream news, and I'm sure your guys' news as well here soon. But my question is, have you ever had to, I guess, be involved in the violence or have to be around any sort of environment with war or any sort of, atrocities like we're hearing now?
Oh yes, but not that large amount of casualties. Well, it is something we do sometimes experience. Sometimes we call them unknown government. They would come around and be damaging properties, be causing havocs everywhere. Although their faces are covered, sometimes we do have casualties, sometimes not. Sometimes only properties will be damaged. But yes, I've experienced something like that, in which we had to run. Everybody had to leave the environment for a while. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So, what do you think of the current president of Nigeria? Now, many of my listeners who are American are not familiar with Nigerian politics, and therefore, President Tinubu is currently in the position of power over there. So I have to ask you, Anson, what do you and the average person in Nigeria think of President Tinubu?
That is quite funny. Even before the election, even during the election, people has always been criticizing Tinubu. They have always been criticizing how he managed to enter the government. That is still a mystery. Me myself, I cannot understand because during the election, I think, a large number of people were on the side of the opposition. They were on the side of the opposition, but then when the results were announced, everybody was surprised to know that Tinubu got to win the election. But up till now, I'm still saying that a good number of people don't like Tinubu. And since he entered, the price of things has been very high, the petrol and all of these things. If like petrol, we were buying it at a lower price about last year, now it has doubled. So because of that, a lot of people are really criticizing his government, and that is it for now.
Yeah, and that's completely understandable because I've actually kept up with Nigerian currency and the economics over there. So, to my understanding, the current inflation rate is about 26% on the Nigerian Naira. And from what I heard about 4 months ago, speaking to other natives in Africa, I heard that you guys had a banking crisis to where you weren't able to access any cash. So how did that happen, and
As
what did you have to do with that?
exactly. Me myself, I had to suffer that too, and everybody, especially people of average citizens and the poor, they suffered that at of that time. That was during the election. We had no cash. If you go to the bank will not give you any cash. They were complaining about they have no cash in the bank, that there is no cash to be distributed. So if you go to the bank, you would see about more than 100 people struggling in the bank, and you can stay there all day without you will get no cash. You can come there in the morning and go at night. You still get no cash. Uh, the only thing that we were doing was online transaction, and that is only possible for people who could do that. A lot of Nigerians, they've not been very familiar with online stores. How to do online transfers and all of this stuff. So it was really horrible. And a lot of if you go to the market, a lot of sellers, they are not familiar with online stuffs, and they've been scammers. All of them have been scammed online, so they don't really trust online stuff. So it was really hard to buy something as of then. And um and and, and I mean, it was a horrible thing to experience. How that feels, especially for people like us who are still average.
Exactly, and it's really funny when you think about it. I mean, there are so many, I guess, issues with the banking system in general, and when the government has the ability to make you not, or to basically take away cash. I mean, they have the ability to do anything. And my viewers, my listeners in the United States, they would think that it's crazy to think that you wouldn't be able to access your money in the bank. Like they would think that's like not even possible. So, and the fact that it's actually happening in your own country, it just shows what so much tyranny can do to a nation when the government has control. And it's just really sad to see, and obviously there are ways out of it. And I've promoted Bitcoin in the past in my shows, and we've talked about previously. Uh, but with all that being said, we've talked about a decent amount of the Nigerian politics. So let's get into exactly why you decided to be a motivational speaker. And I'm really interested in hearing exactly, what your message is with that.
That is quite an interesting question. It is quite deep. Me myself, I cannot really be able to, like break it down in a way that I can say just in a simple sentence. But when I was in high school, let's say junior high school, I fell in love with quotes. I fell in love with quotes. That was how everything started.